I lost 60% in one day. 1986, we're just making so much money, and I know we were up 200%. And I went home on Friday at peak equity, and I think my bonus was $1 million, and I was just on top of the world. I think just from the very beginning and from the Turtle program, it was just a tremendous emphasis on diversification. Trading single names just seemed an obvious thing to do.
Right.
It's a pain in the butt. It's much easier just to trade the indices, and all of your markets are in this FCM account. It's just a piece of cake. Clients kind of prefer it, and but you need to stand up and make try to do something better and different, even though clients are not asking for it. And maybe they complain about it a little bit. I've definitely had people complain that, well, I understand the trend following of the currencies and the commodities and the bonds. It's getting a little too close to me for you to say, oh, just follow these trends in the stocks, And I don't really think that's right. And so we're like, well, sorry, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of success with it.
I'd imagine that diversification held you out from some of those, or maybe you didn't lose as much during some of these big equity sell-offs that like we had in the fourth quarter of last year.
You don't lose as much. You don't make as much. When the markets are in a big uptrend, it's hard to beat the S&P or the FANG stocks. You don't make it on the upside. But it definitely reduces the drawdowns. And in the same way that I would not desire to trade the dollar index or the euro only or a commodity index.
Sure.
I like having longs and shorts. I complain when I don't have longs and shorts in the currencies. So yeah, it makes perfect sense in the stocks as well.
So people are your clients because they like the stability that you offer.
Yeah.
Besides you're making them money.
Yeah, exactly. It's different. And we do things differently than we don't vol target. We're kind of traditional classic trend followers where we risk a small amount, but if the volatility gets higher and higher as the trade becomes very, very profitable, we don't have a tendency to get out of any of it. We just sort of let it go. And so we're a good complement to all of the European CTAs who are vol targeting. And so you got to be a little different.
Right. What would you say is the largest drawdown that you've ever had?
Well, definitely Richard Dennis. I lost 60% in one day. 1986, we're just making so much money, and I know we were up 200%. And I went home on Friday at peak equity, and I think my bonus was $1 million, and I was just on top of the world. And Monday was just this day of all the markets going against us. Yeah. We had made so much money so quickly, and just like, oh well, such is life. If Rich approves of it, he's telling us to do, we think we're doing the right thing, then it must be right. And but I quickly figured out 1988 when I started Chesapeake that maybe 200% was not what I should go for in order to have a stable business. But I do remember being jealous and hearing my other turtle friends who had not made that transition quite yet doing really well in that the drought in 1988. So, but yeah, it's an evolution over time. A lot of positives from the turtle program, and a lot of things that you have to get out of your head when you trade sort of client money.
Is it a lot easier now with computers as compared to like the 1980s where you had to execute everything by hand and pick the phone up and make a phone call down to the pits? Now you have these algorithms and you don't necessarily have to make the decisions right there because they will do it for you. In a sense, you program them, but in a sense, you don't have to actually go in and physically do it. Does that take a little bit of pressure off of you?
I think it makes us more disciplined, and probably the traditional CTA firm would have a research department that creates the models, a committee that approves the models, and then you run those models each day on the new data. And then you have a separate department that executes the trades. So the guys who are executing, their only job is to get a good fill.
Right.
And everyone else's hands are tied. They can't walk in there and say, hey, do a Jerry trade or do a Joe trade. I'm getting freaked out. So I think this division of duties gives people more consistency and discipline. There's still ways to what I call systematized discretion. It's really easy sitting in front of the computer and saying, I'm really nervous about this coffee trade. I think coffee skyrocketed in 1988 as well, or 89. And I remember sitting there going, I really want to get out of this coffee. It's just going up too much. So now I think more than a lot of people just program that in. Right. But it's a rule. Right. So rules are not a panacea either if you have a bad rule. And I think there's a lot of temptation is to have bad rules. I've done it before and just think that you can get away with it because it's computer code. You can't.
How about on the other side? What was your biggest winner?
We've definitely had some trades that lasted a year or two or three. Yeah. Short yen, I think in the 90s or 2000s. Crude trade in 14 came at a really good time, 90 down to 20 something. There hasn't been a lot of great trades. The heating oil trade I mentioned earlier, both of those are legendary trades. Natural gas, there's been some major moves in natural gas, 87 or 88 drought. Oh, the base metals in 04, 05, 06, gigantic trades that lasted a year or two. When you put up a weekly chart, I'm not saying you need to trade weekly, I'm just saying put up a weekly chart and scroll through the charts. Massive trends just pop out. And you look at the little jig, in the middle where it goes down a little bit and comes right back, like, oh, it's a piece of cake. You blow it up into a daily. Yeah. It's like, oh my God. Or you live through it, Living through things. I think Bill Eckhart has a good quote. I can't remember what it was, but something like, today is really a bad day and it's really important, but you won't even remember it, in a month or two.